Greetings, race fans. This is race number 21 of the Sylvania Cup Series, and we are racing at the fictional track of Hillside Speedway, a short 1-mile oval with some very high banking. Since this is another short track race, we've got the heat races and LCQs yet again. We do get some big surprises this week, as Mitchell Gobea makes his first qualifying to the main event. The biggest surprise was in the LCQ, where we had 6 heavy hitters who were within the top 15 in points. Kara Carl, Monty Shangle, Dalton Scott, Scott Dixon, myself, and even Casey Kane. With the LCQ only allowing for 5 to move on, someone was going to miss out on a race this week. And during most of the LCQ, I was mired back in 6th, looking like I could potentially miss my first race ever. With very minimal cautions, 0 to be exact, we do get green flag pit stops with 10 laps to go. Ultimately, this gives me enough strategy to put me into 5th, qualifying for the main event. Scott Dixon also qualified, finishing 4th. Dalton Scott, 3rd. Monty Shangle, 2nd. And Kara Carl won the LCQ. All 5 of us moving on to the main event. Will Power and Tyler Shangle have been hard to beat this year when it comes to qualifying, starting on the front row. Behind that was me and Scott Dixon, both of which came through the LCQ, Jimmy Johnson and Nelson Chacon, Kara Carl and Joseph Newgarden, and Clyde Coker and Jacob Roloff as your top 10 starters. Of course, early on, it is the Will Power show as he starts off leading. 450 laps will clip by pretty quickly here, as they are 19 20-second laps. Lap 35, we get our first wreck when Travis Charpentier loses control, collecting a few other cars in the process. Restart after restart, we continue to see more calamity. After that last wreck, we do get a decent green flag run, while Kara is the new leader. With differing pit strategies, Will Power gets pushed all the way back to 15th. This track seems hard to make passes, but don't tell that to Will Power, as he's up 5 spots to make it into the top 10. All in the meantime, Kara's out front leading on our longest green flag stretch of the race. Long enough that by lap 128 we get green flag pit stops. And Will Power's back out front leading again. His strategy's pretty short though, because he has to come in and pit about 3 laps later. And then Kara's back out front again. This strategy might pay off for Will Power if it goes green the rest of the way. A disappointing turn of events happens for our leader, Kara Carl. As a wreck on track she could not avoid, she gets collected with it. This wreck was involved Tyler Shangle, Joseph Newgarden, Roger Lutz, and ultimately Kara Carl, Danny Lidowitz, Liz Shangle, and Paul Wilkins. Kara relinquishes the lead, and our new leader is Nelson Chacon. A short-lived lead for him. Jimmy Johnson now takes over first place. Mitchell Gobea, in his first race of the season, actually succeeds in leading a lap. A caution comes out at the exact same time, as you could have saw there with the 8 car. Josh Berry goes for one wild ride here. collecting willpower, myself, and a couple other drivers who just had nowhere else to go. Here's another angle on that wreck. Further involved was Kara Carl yet again, with nowhere to go. Runs into me and Rick Quick, along with Brad Keselowski. This puts an end to both of our days, unfortunately. By lap 164 of 450, we've only got roughly 21, half the field, left running. It's Jimmy Johnson over Mitchell Gobea, Nelson Chacon, Kellen Relic, and Dalton Scott to make your top 5 at this moment. By lap 200, Dalton Scott's able to work his way up to the lead, leading over Greg Forian and Nelson Chacon. A few laps later, Greg Forian takes the lead, Nelson Chacon up to second, and Dalton Scott running third. We've been able to go caution-free up to halfway now. Nelson Chacon, the new leader. With only 225 laps to go, the field is greatly dwindled down to limited cars, so the cautions are not going to come as frequently. On lap 232, we get another caution when Jimmy Johnson wrecks into the 10th place runner, Alan Taylor. And as they always say, cautions breed cautions. Just about 10 laps later, Mitchell Gobea gets spun out. The big offender here was Colton Herta, who winds up gets spun into the wall as well, collecting a couple other drivers. Tyler Schengle gets hit there too, and I think that ultimately ended his day. A lot of the same cars get wound up in another wreck on the following restart. This race starts to turn into a literal wreckfest. Finally, we get another good green flag run, and your new leader is Jimmy Gokachia. On lap 285, the new leader is Austin Cindric. With another long green flag run, even involving green flag pit stops, Austin Cindric continues his lead up to lap 350 out of 450. Just one lap later, on lap 351, we get another caution involving Mitchell Gobea and Colton Herta. With that wreck, it brings the total field of cars down to 14 left running. Scott Dixon is our new leader, Austin Cindric second, Jimmy Gokachia third, Dalton Scott fourth, Clyde Coker fifth, and Nelson Chacon sixth, as we only have 6 cars on the lead lap. What can be deemed as an expensive race by the car owners, some of the drivers that have been lucky to avoid getting in wrecks are going to have a good finish today, one of which, Monty Schengle, is going to have a solid top 10 out of it, almost guaranteed since there's so few cars on the track. John Roman's going to have a decent points paying day as he's running in 12th on track. A lot of passes at this point in the race are made due to the slower lap traffic holding up the leaders. Due in part, as you see here, Jimmy Gokachia gets held up by Jimmy Johnson, giving Austin Cindric the lead, and Clyde Coker even sneaks into second here, putting Jimmy all the way back to third. With 50 laps to go, we've got Austin Cindric in the lead over Clyde Coker, Jimmy Gokachia, Dalton Scott in fourth, Nelson Chacon in fifth, and Monty Schengle is your first guy 1 lap down, running in sixth. Lap traffic yet again plays a huge factor in the lead changes here, as Clyde Coker is flirting with taking the lead over from Austin Cindric. We get green flag pit stops with 38 laps to go. On lap 415, we get yet another caution, taking out 2 more in the race. Alexander Rossi and John Roman. And down to 12 cars with only 25 laps to go, we could potentially have even more people wreck out, and who knows gonna win this race. Austin Cindric is leading with 15 laps to go over Clyde Coker. Dalton Scott's running a solid third over Nelson Chacon and Jimmy Gokachia, rounding out your top 5 at this point. With 3 laps to go, Clyde Coker's peeking on the inside of Austin Cindric with some drafting help from Dalton Scott. He winds up making quick work of Austin Cindric, but now he's got to worry about Dalton Scott getting a run on him. Now as they pass the finish line, we've got 2 laps to go. Some really good racing here at the end. Monty Shangle there is running 6th place, 1 lap down, but it's truly a 3-car fight for the win here. Right here, Clyde Coker gets some distance put on the other 2 cars, and it's the final lap. Correction. This here will be the final lap as he gets the white flag. Even though Dalton had such a run, it looked like he lost all momentum, and Clyde Coker is strolling. Austin Cindric closing in very slightly at the end, but no one had anything for Clyde Coker as he pulls off his 2nd win of the season. Cindric 2nd, Scott 3rd, Jimmy Gokachia with his best finish in a long time, 4th, Nelson Chacon 5th, and Monty Shangle 6th, out of roughly 12 cars left running. A lot of these cars look like they've been through the dishwasher. So congratulations to Clyde on a well-earned victory. A lot of cars did not make it to the finish of this race.